Hi everyone, welcome to this session on Android Auto media and messaging support. So you would have heard in the keynote today from Daniel Holle that he was talking about Android Auto and all the features it offers. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how you can go and take those same features and put them into your app. It's really easy. Typically in most cases it's a couple extra lines of code and then you're good to go. So that's the nice thing about Auto, is that you don't need to rewrite your app. So it takes advantage of your existing Android knowledge, but you're just adding small extensions to your code. So let's quickly talk about how Android Auto works. Remember, Android Auto runs completely on your phone. So in this case here, you can see I've got a phone, and then I've got a Pioneer head unit, which is in a sort of fake car simulator here. And there's a USB cable that connects the two together. Now, it's very important to realize that the user plugs their phone into their car, but everything runs on the phone. So the graphics rendering happens on the phone. All the code that you run, everything is on the phone itself. The head unit is just a display that shows pixels on it and plays audio. So all the smarts is in the phone. Because if you think about it, Android's been out since 2008, and that's still less than 10 years ago. Now think how much stuff has changed in 10 years. People typically keep their cars around for 10, 15, 20 years. We want this stuff to have a long roadmap, and we can't keep pushing updates out and things like that. So this way, the head unit can have a fixed, simple protocol. Everything runs in the phone, and as the user upgrades their phone, adds more CPU processing and things like that, Android Auto can move along with that. So that's kind of how it works. So with that in mind, now we're going to talk about what it means for your app. So the big win for Android Auto is that it uses a templated user interface. So you can see here, we've got maps running, but the main thing we're going to talk about today is music and media. And we're going to talk about how your app can fit within those. Now, the thing with putting displays into cars is there's a lot of legal issues around it. There's a lot of safety issues, driver distraction. You want to make sure the user is focused on the road and not on their screens. And in order to get an app published many years ago in other automakers' cars, you had to spend a lot of money, and we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. You had to spend a lot of time, you had to get them certified and tested. It's really expensive. It can take years or maybe never to get your app out. And so what we did with Auto is we built a set of templates for music and messaging that we can test, and then you're allowed to plug text into it and plug images in and so forth. But the templates have been sort of pre-tested and pre-approved, which means that you can publish your app on the Play Store, and literally within hours, the app is now on someone's phone ready to use in a car. So we've taken all of these long deadlines and huge costs, and we've basically made them nothing so that you can get your apps out really quickly. Now, there are some restrictions because they're templates, they're limited. You can't play a video in the background, you can't do things like that. That would be dangerous. And so we've given you this platform that really gives you a quick path to getting your apps into people's automobiles. So remember, the UI of Android Auto is based on speech recognition, and we're going to show that in a sec. So that way you can keep your hands on the wheel and the eyes on the road. So with that in mind, what does this all look like? Let's talk about messaging first. So there's countless accidents every year caused by people being distracted. They're texting in their cars, they're doing things like that. So with Android Auto, we're taking that and we're making it speech enabled, and we're providing an API that allows you to hook in and enable the same auto support in your messaging app. So Android Auto right now supports SMS and Hangouts, and now we're going to show you how to extend your app too. So you can see in this screenshot here, when a message comes in, you can see it pops down on the screen, and then it gets played back as audio. So now what we'll do is I'll show you a quick little demo. So you can see here I've got my Pioneer unit, and on the screen here, it's the generic UI of whatever I'm doing, but I can flip between maps or whatever I want. But now, if I use my little testing app here to generate a fake message, so on the phone here we have a messaging sample, and this sample is available in Android Studio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one fake message to myself. So it appears, click on it.
Here's the message. Can you give me a call? You can press the voice button and say, reply.
So then you can press it. Oops, I missed it. But anyway, so you can see there that the text message was generated on the phone, and then it appeared on the Auto head unit. And so everything's done for you. You don't have to worry about it. It's all based on notifications. So now I'm going to show you how to go about adding that support to your messaging app that does notifications. So the first step is that you have to tell your manifest, you have to change your Android manifest file so that it has a section in there for Android Auto. So you can see we've got a section there that says we're going to support android.gms.car. We add this automotive app desk, and then we create an XML file called automotive app desk that defines the type of app we have. And we're doing a notification style app. So you got to put that in. And once you put that in, your app is now enabled, and the Android Auto app that runs on the phone now can see your app and goes, okay, I notice to deal with your notifications. So the next step. If you're writing a messaging app right now, you've already generating notifications whenever a message comes in. So a message comes in, you use notification compat.builder, and you create a notification with an icon, some text, a title, and so forth. So this is the code that you already have, and every sample for messaging and every notification sample we have has this basic structure. The trick to adding auto support is you call .extend, and then you create a car extender object, and you then add a few extra method calls on that. And the key thing here is you call set UnreadConversation, and you pass an UnreadConvBuilder in, which we're going to do on the next slide. So that's the first step. So we've added this line called extend with the car extender. And then finally, here is the UnreadConvBuilder object. So you can see here we call new UnreadConversation.builder, and we pass in a series of fields. So these are fields that are specific to Android Auto, and you're going to put in things like the names of the person who sent the message, the timestamp for it, and that is used to show it on the screen, and so it can keep track of when the message arrived. And then also we have two intents that we declare here. The red pending intent is called by Android Auto when your message has been received on the head unit. So when the person hears the audio and goes, oh, okay, I've heard it, that intent is called to tell your app, hey, the message was read. And that's useful if you're in a messaging app because you can then change an indicator to say, yeah, the message was read correctly. The next thing is you set the reply action, and this intent is called when we've spoken a text reply into the head unit, hi, I'm running 5 minutes late, and it then sends the text. That intent is called, and it actually gives you the string of the text that was spoken. So your app doesn't need to think about any speech recognition, it doesn't need to focus on speech playback. All it needs to do is provide two intents, and they're called, and you get some strings that you can then pass on to your code or whatever you're doing. So it's really simple. With just these two little snippets of code, you can add messaging support to your app pretty quickly. And so in Android Studio, there is a sample called messaging sample. That is the one I just used on the phone. You can use that to test out this kind of functionality, and it shows you how to do it, and then you can see how to retrofit it into your own app. So that's it. So the next important part of Android Auto is media playback. And so here we've got the Google Play Music app, and you can see here on the little demo, we can go to the media selector, and we can pick Google Play Music. So this is an app that's running on my phone. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to build your own music sample. And there's a sample called Universal Music Player, which is also available in Android Studio. This is a really nice sample because it shows you how to build a complete media app. So it shows you how to stream music from a server somewhere, and it has a presentation display for Android Auto, but it also works on Android TV. It also does Chromecast, and it does a whole bunch of different stuff, and it shows you how to fit all these pieces in together. I actually used it to make my own media player for my music that I keep at home. It's a really great sample to get started with, and it's sort of a best practice of how to make a really nice music player. So that's definitely a great sample to do. So now what I'll do is I'll just show you what it looks like. So you've selected Universal Media Player from here. You then go pick from genres. We'll just pick something at the top. Awakening. Streaming it off the web. Music starts playing out. You can pick next track. Next song plays. So yeah, so it's really easy. And if we were in a real car, we'd have steering wheel controls. It would also work on these buttons as well. But the point is, I'm not touching a phone here. I'm touching just the head unit in my car, steering wheel controls as well. We're totally not touching the phone as well, which makes it really, good for driving, and it's sort of a really nice user interface for that. So that's the music app. Now we're going to go through the nuts and bolts of how one goes about getting a music app ready for talking to Android Auto. So here's how the music app kind of fits into the whole thing. So you've got Android Auto, which is the display is visible in the car, but everything in Android Auto is done by the Android Auto app. So this app is provided by Google. It runs on your phone. This is what draws the graphics and has the templates in it and things like that. Now, if you look in the UI of the car, there is this display that we just showed you where we pick the song from. So that's drawn by the Android Auto app, but it needs to get the information to show to the user. So it needs to somehow talk to your app to query it and get the music library out of it. So what it does is it talks to your app. So this is my audio app here. It talks to a media browser service that you define in your app, and you have a tree structure of music that you have, so you can have folders and you can have music files in it. And there's an API which we'll talk about in a sec, which allows you to communicate this tree structure back to the Android Auto app. And once it's queried your database of music, it can then present this UI. And then once that's done, the user can pick a song, and then that information is then sent back and forth between the Android Auto app and your app here. So there's this media session API, which the Android Auto app can make calls into your app that says, hey, the user just picked song number 52, start playing it, and then you start playing the song. And then also when you press controls on the steering wheel, next track, previous track, those are all sent via these callbacks as well. So we're going to go through the details of that. And so this display here, all those buttons, the events are sent to your app. And also your app has the ability to send information back to say things like, hey, I know this song's 4 minutes long and we're currently 50% of the way through. You can update the little progress bar. You have the ability to set the title of the song and also set the background image using metadata. So there's this back and forth between the Android Auto app and your app, but the point is your app just has to provide that information. Android Auto takes care of everything else. So the key thing about when we introduced Android Auto, we also introduced it during the time of Lollipop as well. So in Lollipop, there was a whole new media framework that was added that was built for supporting Android Auto, but also for supporting other media interfaces as well. And so some of the classes are media session, media controller. That's what it's built up around. Now, before Lollipop, everything was based on remote control client. Now, remote control client is what presents the lock screen. It appears on the lock screen of your phone, and you had the ability to change back and forth between songs. So what you need to do is you need to migrate your app from remote control client over to this new framework, and then you get Android Auto support. The lock screen still works, but you also get other platforms as well for free. So for example, Android Wear has the ability to understand media callbacks as well. If you're playing a song on your phone, the actual media information will appear on your watch as well, and you can pick next track, previous track, browse through the library. So we're not just adding this framework to our code to support Android Auto, we're adding it for Wear and any other platforms that Google might add in the future. So it's a generic media framework that's really useful for a whole bunch of different things. And so this is the future way going forward. So how does the media API work? So let's talk about how the media session support works. So what happens is that when we start to play a song, the media session communicates metadata to the head unit. So it says, hey, we've got the song title, we've got the current playback state, are we play, paused, how far are we through the song, and so forth. And we then have controls on the unit itself. Whenever someone presses those buttons, they're sent back to the media app on this end. And the Android framework is all under the hood here. So it's responsible for handling all the IPC. You don't have to deal with any networking code or anything like that. It's all kind of done magically in the back end, and it allows us to sort of change the implementation of things without you having to rewrite your code. So how do we go about creating a media session? So in your music app, you're going to create a new media session object, you make it active, and then you have to grab a session token from this and then store it. And we're going to use that later on. So the next thing we need to do is get the metadata over to the Android Auto app. So you create a metadata object with this builder. You then put some strings in, title, artist, duration. There's a whole bunch of different tags that are available for different things. So you fill out the information that you have. As I said before, you can also do background images. So it allows you to sort of make nice, beautiful artwork for the background as well, so it's not just limited to text. And then we take that builder, we call build on it, and then we pass it to set metadata, which then puts it into the session object. And then pretty much after that, we don't have to worry about it. The next part is the playback state, play, pause, things like that. Once again, you use a builder object. We're currently playing, we're setting a speed here, and then we're also able to specify what kind of controls are available right now. So we're saying, okay, we want to support play and pause, but I don't want to support other things. You can control what controls appear. We'll show you another screenshot in a little bit. Now once again, build the state, put it in here, now it's in the session. So the stuff's pretty easy. Like the API is very simple. There's nothing too complicated about it. You don't have to write tons of boilerplate code. Makes it quite nice. Now finally, the controls that come back. So we create a media session.callback, and inside we fill out methods for all the different events that we're interested in, on play, pause, skip track, and so forth. So these methods will be called when the user presses pause, play, whatever. And you can put whatever code you want in here. And so also if a new song is selected, things like that. So now let's talk about the browser implementation. So those are the controls. We've worked out how to send messages back and forth that change tracks and so forth, but now we need to actually tell the Auto unit what our music library looks like. And this is where it gets interesting, because with Android Auto, you can ask it with voice queries. You can say, hey, play me a song with jazz music in it, and it will go through your tree and find something that's got jazz in it as its genre. And so it has the ability to search your database of music in your app. So that's done with the Media Browser service. So Media Browser service is, we provide a class for that, which you extend, and then you have to take the session token that we created earlier when we set up the previous code, and we store that in here. And that then allows everything to be connected up. So the session token is the glue that brings it all together. As we did there. And now the next method that we need to implement is called onGetRoot. So when the Android Auto app connects to your app for the first time, it calls onGetRoot, and your app needs to decide what to do with this request. Now, it's an opportunity to validate if whoever's calling you is allowed to talk to your app. So you might have a protected music library that you don't want to share with every app on the phone, because this mechanism, any app could request, hey, grab the music library and start playing it or whatever. But you might only want to restrict it to your app plus the Android Auto and Wear apps, and you have the ability to do that here. So in the samples that we provide some sample code for a package validator class that takes in the package name, the UID, and the current class, and it verifies that the signature matches what's expected so that some rogue app isn't talking to your code. Now, you don't have to put that in if you don't want to, but it's recommended that you do. And it's very important that you do this correctly, because if you mess up the package verification, it might be that you haven't secured your app correctly. So make sure you really do look at the samples to get this right. Finally, the next step is you return the root of your media tree. So your media is stored in a hierarchy. You're returning this browser root node that's the top. And later on, we're going to return this back, and then it's going to come back to our code, and we're going to have to start returning the children of it. So with that in mind, once onGetRoot's returned, the OnloadChildren method is what is called when someone's trying to query our database. The root is initially passed in with this ID here, and then we have to return a result back. So you can see here that we're doing result.sendResult, and we're passing in some media data of the first node of our tree. You have the ability, when you specify your media items, to specify what's called a playable or a browsable object. A browsable object means that this object has further children. A playable object is a piece of media that can be played right now. So it's just a way of differentiating the nodes in the tree. So you do that. Now, you might have an app that is getting its media from the internet. So it might be a slow process to go and fetch this information. Now, this OnloadChildren method is designed to return back very quickly. If you can't return back instantly a result, what you should do is detach, load the children in the background, and then return that result later in this onComplete method here, and it returns asynchronously. So if media is in local storage, do the first method here. If you're on the network, do the second one, because you don't want to have a laggy experience, because otherwise it'll slow down the experience in the head unit, bad for the user, and especially when they're driving. They're going to be super frustrated if they're trying to press a button and it's not working while they're driving a car. So it's super important that you get this right. So here is the final chart that sort of summarizes the back and forth that happens with Android Auto. So we pick the music app. It then calls onGetRoot in our a media browser service. The session tokens go back and forth. The Android Auto app then calls OnloadChildren to get the music. And then once that's done, someone selects music from the display on the head unit. It goes through to one of your callbacks. And then once your media starts playing, you then send these metadata changed and playback state changed back to the head unit. So that's the only two back and forths that happen. You fill out those methods, and then you're good to go, basically. So finally, a few little quick customizations here. So obviously, as an app developer, you want to be able to differentiate your app from other apps on the system. So you have the ability to change the background artwork. So this image here is coming from the music in this case. You also have the ability to change the colors of everything. So there's a primary color and a secondary color you can adjust. And you can see here that this app is using orange, which allows you to control the progress bars and the icons and so forth. You can change that to whatever you want as well. And finally, you have the ability to customize the controls. So in this case up here, we showed this a little bit earlier with set actions. We're saying, okay, our app supports play, pause, and skip to next, but that's it. So you can see here that this icon is not there. Now, you might not have a traditional music app. So some music apps don't have the ability to fast forward, and it might be that it's a radio station, so there's no concept of skipping to the next track. So if this is the case, in this example here, you can pass in a list, and you can create custom icons like go back 10 seconds, go forward 30 seconds, whatever it is that you want to do. You can create these icons, and then you can put them in, and it'll take care of it. So the apps are reviewed as part of the submission process, so don't try to do things like playing movies or anything crazy in the icons. You're not allowed to play videos to the user. You're not allowed to play videos in the background or anything like that. If you try to do it, your app will get rejected, and then you won't be able to get it out to the Play Store. So don't do things like that. So that's kind of a quick little summary of how to go about putting media support into your app. Now, that's basically it. So we've shown how to take a media app, a messaging app, and we have samples for these things. So if you look in Android Studio, we have the universal music player, which if you go to Android Studio, new sample, you can select that and just hit build, go straight to your device, and you're good to go. We have the messaging service sample, which shows you how to do the messaging. And I've got this head unit here, which is like a car simulator, but obviously you don't want to have to carry this around everywhere. So we have what's called the desktop head unit, which is a simulator that runs on your laptop that you connect it up to your phone, and it allows you to have an Android Auto experience on your desktop or your laptop screen, and it allows you to test your app completely. And you can do the speech and all that kind of stuff. It's quite nice. So give that a try if you want to test your app out, and then once it's ready, you submit it to the Play Store, and then you're ready to go. So if you want more help with this, we have a Udacity class that I created a while back, which it has a really nice summary of how to get started with Android Auto and sort of some of the things that we talked about in this class. And it actually goes through step by step of how to take a messaging sample and add the code to it, so you can give that a try. And we also have an Android Auto developers forum on G+. So I run this forum, g.co, Android Auto Dev, and that's a great place to go if you've got questions or if you want to discuss problems, and me or other people on the team are available to answer your questions. And then finally, follow me on Google Plus as well. I give updates about Android Auto, but I also do a lot of work on Brillo and Weave and wearables and other things like that. So follow me on Google Plus if you want to know more about what's going on in this area. So that's the end of the talk today. So thank you very much, and then we can have some time for questions. Thank you. Yeah, question.
Yeah, so especially with like SUVs and stuff like that, if you wanted to make an app so that it's easy to be able to put on like movies for your kids.
Yep.
They don't have support for anything like that.
No, so I'll repeat the question. So the question was, is if you've got an SUV with like screens around the car, how can you play movies for the kids? And so right now we don't support anything like that. That's a whole separate problem. The current implementation of what we showed is for the head unit of the car. It would be very different. So it's not currently supported. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Question, yeah.
So under the cover, what exactly is that thing? Is it just a touch screen with the big audio available thing?
Now, so this here, so Pioneer made this unit. So this is designed to drop into pretty much any car. So most cars have what's called a DIN. It's like a DIN port or whatever they call it. And so there's usually a plastic panel or an existing CD player. So you pop the dash off, you unscrew the old CD player, you throw it out. This thing slides in there, and it's a box This one has like a CD player behind it and stuff like that. It drops in, you connect up your existing speakers and everything, and it's designed to replace the CD player in your car. So I use one of these. This around here is a fake car simulator, basically. So we have a 12-volt power supply, we have an amp, we have some speakers, and we have everything necessary to basically provide a fake automobile. Like, it probably even has a parking. Oh, here you go. This is a parking brake switch, so you can pretend you're pulling the parking brake lever in the car. So we built this as a way of demonstrating how to use one of these units without having to go outside and sit in a car. For most developers, you want to use the desktop head unit because you can just sit at your desk and test your app out. You don't want to have to go out to a car every time you want to try an app out. But you can buy one of these for your car. So OEMs are introducing cars that are gradually coming out which have Android Auto support built into the car. But I bought a car, for example, that had an old school CD player in it. I just ripped it out, put one of these in, and now my car is auto enabled. So this is a great way of adding auto support to an existing vehicle.
What's the efficiency if you're using just a desktop head unit?
Well, that's limited to your desk. It's pretty much identical. It does the speech, it does everything basically the same. So from a debugging perspective, if your app works in a desktop head unit, it's probably going to work fine in one of these too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of access does the app allow you as far as the data on the car, like the speed, when you read and write, change the speed or something?
All right, so the question was, how do you get access to the information about the vehicle? So right now, the Android Auto app does not provide lots of information like that. However, that doesn't matter so much because your app is running on the phone. You have the ability to fire up the GPS or any of the sensors just like you would because it's just a phone app. So if you want to know the current speed, you can just ask the GPS or the location library for that.
Yeah, actually what I mean was like, can you do diagnostic or something like that?
No, so if you wanted to do like a diagnostic app, that's a whole separate thing. You can buy these little ODB2 scanner plugins that you plug in your car. It has Bluetooth on it. You can then pair your phone up to it. But that would be an app that runs on your phone. It wouldn't fit within the Android Auto experience because you can't draw like gauges or dials on this screen. It's a templated UI. So it's just media and just messaging. You're not legally allowed to put a random movie or graphic display on here. So we don't allow that. And that's what allows you to get your app to the Play Store in a couple hours. It's a whole separate. So in exchange for using the templated UI, you get fast access to the Play Store and to your customers for free. So yeah. Oh yeah, question.
So on Chromecast, you can now cast to multi-rooms, etc.
Mhm.
Could you imagine that at some point this might be kind of like a head unit and then a rear unit, or is that probably
As in, like-
that ain't gonna happen because people will take a rear unit and still put it up in the front of the car and kind of bypass it?
Yeah, I don't know I can't talk about the plans for what they're planning on doing in the future.
On a templated kind of presentation and
Yeah.
graphics, it's probably better play.
Yeah, it's currently templated. So the nice thing though is that let's say you're making a media app. So now, as long as you implement the API correctly, hypothetically in the future, if someone else builds a plugin that plugs in to this API, your app just works. And that's actually the cool thing is the Wear people, for example, they implemented this API, it just works. So if hypothetically the second display was to come out, which I'm not promising, but hypothetically if it happened, if it used this API, you don't have to do anything. So that's the cool part is you write the API and whatever functionality is available, it'll try to use it.
And did I catch you right as you said is that in theory, if your app is written right, as it says, it presents here on the head unit that there's the song, it also will show as a notification on my Wear watch
Yes.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And if I update there, then it literally will update.
Oh yeah, they're all kept in sync. So your watch, the car, and your phone are in sync. So if you disconnect the phone and then go for a walk out of a car, your watch will show the current song and your phone will still play it. So you can be listening to something before you get into the car, you plug it in, it's sort of all kept in sync with each other and your watch will show it. And so you can use whatever is convenient for you at the time. So it's kind of nice, yeah.
Why can't the Android Auto app work without a head unit?
Why can't the Android Auto app work without a head unit? Okay, the thing is, a lot of it is to do with safety regulations as well. I mean, I take it you want to like Velcro a Nexus tablet to your dash or something, right?
I got a mount.
Yeah, yeah.
Phone as a GPS. I want this interface.
Yeah, yeah.
Paying $700 for a binder head unit.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it is to do with safety regulations as well. And the thing is car manufacturers, they put their DIN port and all this stuff, it's all tested and whatever. And it's just dangerous to have people sticking a phone on their steering wheel or wherever they might want to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, and these things are limited due to a lot of safety and legal reasons. So yeah.
You were talking about the approvals for the media
Yes.
apps. Is there a similar approval for the notification?
Yeah, so the question was, is there approval for messaging as well as media? They all have to be approved. So what happens is when you do the automotive app desk.xml file, you declare notifications or media. Those are the two current types that you declare. Any of those apps that want to go through the Play Store, both of them have to be approved. And your app won't work unless it has been approved through the Play Store. So you can't like sideload them. You can't hand out apps to people and expect them to work in their cars. It doesn't work like that. So the app has to go through approval. So it's done for both. And in most cases, there's not too much crazy stuff you can do. If you stick to the specs, your app will be approved. It's if you're doing crazy things like trying to keep the screen alive or trying to spam too many messages or things like that, that's when you'll have a problem.
Are there guidelines?
Yeah, so the Android Auto website, developers.android.com/auto, has a whole bunch of guidelines on when you submit to the App Store. These are the kind of things that we look for, and make sure you do these, think about these concepts. So there's a bunch more information. So today I covered mainly the technical aspects, but there's a lot more information there that really sort of talks about the motivations and how to go about doing it. One more question. Yeah. What about video ads? Well, like I said before, you can't play any video of any kind because video requires the user to look at the screen. So any video is bad, and all you've got is the background image. You can't bring up a full screen video, so no, it's definitely not allowed. So yeah. Okay, we've run out of time for questions, and we actually have Android Auto office hours over in the Code Lab room. So we're going to have Daniel Holley over there. I'm going to be there. And so please come over there and have a chat to us if you've got any more questions. But otherwise, thanks for coming, and I hope you have a great conference. Thank you.